In D&D and TPGs overall, giant monsters exist. There's kaiju, Godzillas, dragons, and giants. And many people have come up with ways to fight them. Honestly, that's just Pacific Rim. Who wouldn't want to play in a campaign where you get to don a giant creature or mech suit and go punch Godzilla in the face? In this video at Curse 20, we'll talk about how we think you can turn this 2013 cult classic of a movie into an awesome idea for a D&D campaign.
Our scene begins with the backstory of how monsters came to be in this world. We are given the explanation that tectonic plates have shifted, which has opened up a portal to another dimension. We see our first kaiju mid rampage and are then introduced to how common they come to be. We meet our main character, Raleigh Beckett, and his brother Yancey during a suit up for the Jaeger Gypsy Danger. We see Gypsy Danger save some civilians that were in danger by disobeying an order to stay put and protect the city that was at risk of being attacked. They roll a nat 1 to notice that the kaiju they defeated wasn't actually dead. As a result, the kaiju gets a surprise attack and is able to kill one of the pilots. But Raleigh miraculously survives. We cut to 5 years later, where we find that the Jaeger program is being shut down and the monsters have only kept up. The government has decided that building a super wall around cities is the best way to keep them out. We then see our main character being recruited back after leaving the Jaeger program due to the trauma of losing his brother. After accepting and joining the Jaeger program, we are next introduced to our last few remaining pilot teams. The Crimson Typhoon, a Jaeger from China being piloted by the Wei Tang triplets. Cherno Alpha, a Russian Jaeger being piloted by the married couple Sasha and Alexis Kaidanovsky. And the American Jaeger, Striker Eureka, piloted by Hercules Hansen and his son Chuck. We are also introduced to our research scientists, Dr. Giesler and Dr. Gottlieb. We are quickly introduced to our plan, which is to drop a nuke into the breach and destroy it. Dr. Giesler then rolls a series of nat 20s to discover that kaijus are in fact clones of each other, and he wants to devise a way to link the brains using the same technology that Jaeger pilots use to link. In our next scene, we see Raleigh rolling a high persuasion check to get Mako to join his training, and also to persuade the marshal to allow her to be his co-pilot. Next, we see Dr. Giesler linking brains with the kaiju brain fragment from before. He finds out that things are about to get much, much worse. During Raleigh and Mako's test run, our pair rolls a nat 1 and slips out of sync, during which Mako is trapped in the memory of a kaiju attack. We learn that in this memory, she is saved by the marshal and is raised by him as well. Our final battle begins with two kaijus attacking at the same time. Our main pair is kept out of the battle due to their previous incident and the feelings captured there within. Thus, the rest of our Jaegers are sent out to fight the threat. We see Crimson Typhoon and Cherno Alpha get taken out almost immediately, leaving Striker Eureka alone. One of the kaijus unleashes an EMP attack that kills all power in the Jaeger, leaving them a sitting duck. In doing so, we figure out that the Gypsy Danger is powered by a nuclear reactor, thus making it immune to the EMP, and giving us the excuse we need to bring our main characters back into the fight. After a crazy and dangerous fight, the Gypsy Danger kills both kaiju, though we find out quickly that one of them was pregnant, which gives our doctor the kaiju brain needed to link again. After initiating this second drift, our doctors find out that their plan to drop a nuke into the breach will not work. In fact, they need kaiju DNA in order to pass through the breach. After passing along this information to our pilots, Striker Eureka is forced to sacrifice itself after a third kaiju appears, overpowering it, all in order to give Gypsy Danger a chance at blowing up the breach. Gypsy Danger is able to engage with the final kaiju and pull it down into the breach in order to pass through. After switching oxygen tanks with Mako and ejecting her first to save her life, he attempts to make a daring escape while setting off the nuclear reactor in his Jaeger. He makes a nat 20 athletics check to clamber back into his escape pod just in time to eject and make it safely back home.
I'm coming at the movie with running a one shot or about 5 sessions in mind with about 2 to 4 players. Now, this does change a little on how I view it. In a one shot, I'd probably start the players off right in the middle of a kaiju fight, giving them an opportunity to learn the mechanics of the Jaeger. I would also probably add an NPC ran Jaeger, which I would eventually destroy and kill off to help move the middle of the story along. The players should barely survive this fight and struggle to make it back home with some of the parts of the monstrosity they just killed. I would use the middle of the one shot to build tension between the players and a group of like hot shot NPCs that also have their own Jaegers. In the background, the scientists, like a wizard or artificer type class, they work tirelessly to find out how the kaijus work. All the while, I'll be dropping narrative hints that there are other attacks happening throughout the world and it's being overran. After an appropriate amount of time, you have to have a major attack happen. Maybe it's a triple or quadruple event. The players rush to their Jaegers and they are going to go fight. It needs to be almost unsurmountable odds. And at the tipping point of this fight, the scientists finally get them the information they need to overcome the kaijus and seal them away. I think it should be up to the individual's DM discretion on what that information should be and what it should be that finally ends the fight. If I was to run it in about 5 to 10 sessions, a little more, a little less, you got to start it off much of the same. But much later in that initial fight, they need to lose but survive. Maybe one of them doesn't, and they have to play a whole new character for the rest of this short campaign. That add a lot of like emotional weight to it too. You got to fast forward in time to the players moving on before they're pulled back in. Introduce them to some new NPCs that they don't like, but they have to work with, and also introduce the scientist that will slowly feed them information throughout the course of your game. They need to learn that the kaijus are coming faster and they're coming stronger, and that they are needed to save the world. You should be able to flesh out the mechanics of how your kaijus and the Jaegers work, and they take these stat blocks. We'll give you some ideas later on in the video. They should have a kaiju fight most sessions, and every victory should bring them more information on how they work. Maybe this leads to better attacks or better defenses that they can add to their Jaegers. You need to make sure that the story is enticing outside of the Titan fights. If your players give you tragic backstories or backstories at all, this is the time to bring them into play. Kill off an NPC that they love, maybe like their father or their mother, maybe their brother dies in the Jaeger attack. Destroy their hometown from a Jaeger. Put some emotional weight behind them. Also, introduce a mechanic that affects their ability to pilot the Jaeger during the battle. This makes sure that the choices they make outside of the Jaeger have an effect on the game that they are playing. Maybe they're not emotionally mature enough to keep and attached. As soon as you're almost ready, give them the info they need to overcome this threat. Have them start the final battle. Adjust your kaijus to match the amount of Jaeger/players that you have. And when it fits your narrative, give them the push that they need to seal them away. Have them celebrate, run a little party for them, and always remember you can hint that it's never really over.
I think if you play Pacific Rim as a D&D campaign, you need to move further away from the narrative from the movie. This way you have more filler time for world building and player character development. I think it's best suited for 4 players, which is 2 Jaegers, and lasts about 15 sessions, with a heavy emphasis on combat. In this campaign, I wouldn't include other player races other than human, and I would only allow martial classes. But player classes can matter for combat and RP outside of operating the Jaegers. The next most important part of playing this campaign is how you build Jaeger combat to work. For the Jaeger model, I think 1 to 5, it should match your player's current level. As the game goes on, you should be upgrading the models when you level up your players, but also get access to new weapons, features, and systems for the Jaegers.
Elbow rocket! Now!
I think you should come up with different ideas at your session 0 where everyone can come to an agreement on how you want to operate the Jaegers.
Come on! Let's do this together!
But here's an example I came up with. When having the neural handshake, every time you get into the Jaeger, you'll have a synchronization score. You always start with 10 out of 20. After each round, players will roll 1d10 plus their charisma modifier. If the roll is less than the sync score, roll a d4 and reduce your sync score. And vice versa if you roll higher than your sync score. When your sync score goes to 0, the Jaeger powers down and the players are going to need external assistance. Where if the score is above a 17, give your players advantage, like on strength and dex checks. The Jaegers themselves have individual health per section: their head, their left arm, right arm, legs, torso, and the systems that control it. When a kaiju makes an attack roll, roll a d6 with it to see what body part the kaiju attacks. The movement speed and the AC should be determined on what generation that the players are using, as well as what kind of armor the players choose for their Jaeger. As the players level up and their Jaeger's new armor and weapons systems should also become available to them. In the first session, players are rookie pilots in a coastal shatter dome when a new Category 2 kaiju emerges. Some gameplay challenges could be a series of skill checks, like persuasion to convince commanders to deploy untested teams. The next few sessions, the kaiju attacks escalate. While political factions debate building a wall versus funding the Jaeger program, these sessions introduce Category 3 kaijus with mutations and resistances. Around the 5th session, players encounter the first double event. 2 kaiju attack simultaneously, forcing allied Jaegers to split up against an already more powerful enemy they've encountered before. The 6th session, scientists, player characters, or NPCs drift with a kaiju brain, revealing the kaiju precursor's plan, and our players need skill checks to interpret their visions. The next few sessions, kaijus adapt, like Leatherback from the movie. That has an EMP variant that disables Jaeger tech if they're not nuclear, moving towards the need for the nuclear-powered Jaegers. In the 10th session, the Shatter Dome is attacked and research is stolen. Our players must visit a black market like Hannibal from the movie to learn information and find another brain, where they can learn about the cult that worships the kaiju. Over the next few sessions, our players can infiltrate the kaiju cultist church to steal the breach data. This reveals the kaiju DNA is the key to opening the portal. In the 13th and 14th sessions, players pilot Jaegers to breach the trench when the first triple event is going to happen. And then you can have your grand finale, the final battle versus the Category 5 kaiju that blocks the breach. Using it to pass through the breach, players need to do whatever is necessary to close the breach, even self-sacrifice.
Hello everyone, this has been Curse20. Thank you for watching our video on how to make Pacific Rim into a D&D campaign.
And if you have any further suggestions for what we should do next, please leave them in the comments. I think we're going to be working on a video for Alien versus Predator, so look out for that.
I think so too. Please like and subscribe. Thank you for watching.